Hello, everyone. I want to offer a few brief reflections on this Mars North Node Chiron sandwich. This last weekend, Mars passed the North Node, entering a new phase, and is now joining towards Chiron. If you can see here, it'll be moving towards Chiron over the remainder of this month. And it's interesting, Jupiter also enters Gemini during that time. So there's a lot of really potent new energy that's emerging over the remainder of this month. I think we can definitely say, with this happening in a new phase with the North Node and Chiron itself being in a new phase, the choices and the responses that we're offering to life right now aren't necessarily about the clarity of long-term path, long-term commitment. But it does say the choices and the thoughts and the orientations that we're cultivating at this time are deeply relevant to our long-term evolutionary path, and that it really does point to this path of self-initiation. And this is what I want to give attention to. Again, being new phase, this path of self-initiation doesn't say, I'm initiating myself into this long-term path, this is the lineage, this is the direction, this is the leadership that I'm choosing. It really does speak more to the congruency of how we wish to behave with respect to the person that we wish to become. Chiron will always bring us into our medicine path when we choose to fulfill our function, when we choose to start again and fulfill our role. What brings us into that medicine path is only in starting, only in showing up, do we actually connect with and face the places within us that are deeply hurt, vulnerable, tender, that might feel broken. And I spoke a lot about this with my friend Martha in my last video, where that Mars masculine energy has been misused. It's very tender and vulnerable to claim that energy and to become a leader, to claim courage and confidence when that same courage and confidence was used in misdirected ways. But it's the awareness of that. It's the very potent being present to that, to the ways this energy has been misused, that actually brings us into our humility, that actually deepens our own compassion, to act and to embody our own leadership and our direction in life. This reveals a larger long-term path because of the initiation into a relationship with ourselves that we can only find by way of cultivating these new choices, these new ways of being. Otherwise, the tendency with the signature is to actually be met with a lot of fear. I'm going to cower in fear or unworthiness or inadequacy or not feeling strong enough, or just being plagued by anger and just feeling too weak or feeling overwhelmed or consumed by an anger response. We each in our own way are called upon to meet the content of our life right now in a way that calls us forward with greater confidence and leadership and courage, but also at the same time, through that chironic path of initiation, to walk the medicine walk, we cultivate that humility and compassion and empathy and care. This happens in Chiron because we feel the pain that we're carrying. But it's only through acting do we actually learn how to use that pain in a healing way. That's a metaphor that I always give, right? With Chiron, we can focus on the impairment, that which feels broken or wounded, or we can do our work, follow our path, make the choices we're called to make in life. And when we do the latter, the wound, the impairment, that which would otherwise feel broken, is simply going to define the contours of the unique path that we're walking. It's no longer an impairment, it's simply the unique way that we're moving forward, and we yield ourselves to it. We find our own way of being because we're actually allowing our whole experience, our whole being, to be a part of it. And this is why there's so much compassion and humility in the Chiron walk. In the newsletter that I'm putting out now, I share a link to two sets of interviews, each with an Israeli and a Palestinian speaking to each other in recent months. And when I watch those interviews, those conversations rather, I feel that Chiron and Aries, they're all leaders. They're initiating a path. And according to the thinking of the world and what media wants us to believe, they shouldn't be talking to each other. We would expect just a lot of distrust and disunity. It's the fact of the conversation of people that are deeply tender and present. In particular, in one of the videos, We have individuals, both of whom have lost family and friends recently with all the violence that's been happening in Gaza and in Israel. And yet they're choosing to initiate this new path of leadership. In a way, this is an expression of that South Node in Libra being in balance. Listening doesn't mean condoning. You don't have to agree or even share the same view, but there's an underlying way of saying, I'm going to walk my path, I'm going to be true to myself, but I'm not going to walk a path of war. It's important to understand that the Aries Mars archetype isn't implicitly about war. This is again a thing that Martha and I spoke about, and it fascinates me, utterly fascinates me. Mars itself being the god of war mythologically, in its essence, looking at it purely from an evolutionary perspective, yes, Mars has something to do with separation in the sense that every action is like the movement towards something new, right? There's a quality of separation implicitly in that, but that's not a bad thing, right? Every time we make a new choice, we're moving into a new experience, right? We're willing something. Any expression of will resonates with some quality of separation towards something new. It really is more a question of, are these actions, are these choices moving us into new experience, serving the cultivation of war and disunity, or the cultivation of peace and harmony? Mars can be defending and protecting either one. That's where Mars is like that self-cleaning oven, right? Like we're making these actions, we're making these choices, but it's leading us towards a particular path. And I think in the ultimate sense, Mars exhausts itself, right? Like the need for action exhausts as there's within the soul itself nothing left, right? Nothing left other than the truth. And that's the long-term general understanding of Mars. So the actions then become a matter of what master are we serving? And that's just where I think right now during this window, then naturally once Mars passes Chiron into the next month, there is such a beautiful invitation for us to draw upon where we're all called upon to cultivate our medicine and just to honor and appreciate. I really want to end with this message. Whatever your experiences have been, wherever you've been, whatever's been done to you, whatever you've done, there's a truth to starting over right now. And it wouldn't be uncommon to feel unworthy, unready, inadequate, inept, not capable, not fit enough, not strong. Like all of those energetics might be very alive for some of us. For some of us, there will be further perpetuating of the wounding as well. Let's acknowledge that as well. But for those that are meeting that self-doubt vibration, please know a part of the medicine is actually being able to say, okay, that's here, and I'm going to start again anyway. And I want to say too, it's like that's a part of the humility of Aries in particular, where there can be a sort of like going too far, too fast, too quickly. When we really get that we're all just starting again, and there's nothing special about us implicitly. It's more the choice to show up, right? We kind of humble ourselves, and the kind of grandiosity is humbled as well. Okay, a couple announcements. I'm going to be beginning a new planetary aspect series with Neptune. So next week, this will be Monday the 27th at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be doing my introduction to Neptune aspects. So you can join live on my YouTube channel then. And as always, I'm available for one-on-one sessions, and I have many courses, class series, and products available on my classes page. As always, thank you so much for watching.